Hello and welcome. My name is Miss Melissa and I am a teaching artist who really likes to draw. Today we are going to learn a bit about water conservation and a lot about art. So what is water conservation? Let's look a little deeper. The word conserve is inside of the word conservation. Do you know what conserve means? It means to protect something from harm or destruction, especially in the environment. So how would this pertain to water? That's right. We want to avoid wasteful or destructive uses of water because water is a natural resource that we need to survive. Did you know that LUS, also known as Lafayette Utilities System, makes water conservation easy? LUS customers can track their daily water consumption and discover ways to conserve water. LUS and the Lafayette Consolidated Government enacts a water conservation ordinance annually from May 1st through September 30th. They do this to help conserve water in our community. So how can we make an art project together that relates to water conservation? I have an idea. Let's make a drawing together of a water drop to symbolize water conservation. I'm going to show you some cool techniques to end up with a camouflaged water drop. And it's going to look something like this. Can you see the actual outline of the water drop? So let's get started. I'm going to show you the supplies that you will need for today. You are going to need one sheet of white paper. It can be drawing paper or even copy paper. So I just have a sheet of white drawing paper. You are also going to need a couple of pencils and an eraser and a couple of permanent black markers. You are also going to need an assortment of lids, maybe bottle caps. I have some that I could show you. Here's a pretty good assortment that I gathered. I got some of these lids from jars, plastic containers, water bottles, just different things lying around the house. So you want to get an assortment. You're going to need at least 2 sizes. Maybe a small and a large, or a medium and a large. We're going to use this for drawing. Before we start, I wanted to show you some art vocabulary words that you might hear me use throughout the video. So I thought I would write them down to help you. Space is a very important word today because space is one of the elements of art, and it refers to the actual space on your paper. We're going to be doing some pretty cool things with the actual space on our paper. For example, we're going to be drawing a lot of lines today, and our lines will be overlapping each other, because we're going to be using things like lids. Okay, so you're going to get to choose. You're going to get to choose what size lids you want to use. We're going to use a lid for the interior of our teardrop, and we're also going to use a different size lid for the exterior of our water drop. I said teardrop, I meant water drop. Okay, so check it out. Here you can see these circular shaped lines overlapping, meaning that they're crossing over. And so now I just created a space in between where these lines overlap. We're also going to be using the word rhythm today. Another word for rhythm is to repeat. We're going to be repeating several of these circular shaped lines today and color. Speaking of color, we're going to be working with some specific colors called neutral colors. Neutral colors are black and white. The white is going to be our paper, and the black is going to be the black permanent marker that we use. And repeating all of these lines in color will give us something called positive and negative shapes throughout our paper. Positive and negative shapes are going to be very important in this particular art project. Let me show you an example of what positive and negative shapes are. I'm going to go ahead and trace my hand. Okay? Now you've probably done this several times as a child. You can make several different pictures with just your handprint. Now watch. If I were to color inside, and I'm just going to squiggle for right now, inside of the hand, let's pretend I colored it very neatly and the whole thing is shaded in. Guess what? We would call my actual hand the positive shape, and all of the white background would be the negative shape. Now watch this. Now, if I were to actually color the outside or exterior white spaces surrounding this hand, it would be quite the opposite of what I just showed you. Now, let's pretend that I'm filling in all of the white areas and everything is blue, okay? I'm just going quickly just to give you an example. All right, so now that I've colored the white background space around my hand, I could actually say that the blue area is my positive space, and the white area, the handprint, is now the negative space. Let's start drawing our water drop. I'm going to probably have my water drop go about this high and maybe come down about this low. And you can make it however big or however small that you would like. What I like to do typically is kind of draw the bottom. I'm going to make the bottom sort of like, maybe like a bowl. It's going to have some curvy lines. So this is the only thing that we're going to draw today, and everything else we're going to trace. It kind of looks like a Hershey Kiss a little bit. Everybody has their own way of sketching. I'm trying to keep my eyes moving across so I can make it look, pretty symmetric. All right, so once you finally get the shape of your water drop, we can begin. I'm pretty satisfied. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up right here. All right, so as you can tell, I went ahead and erased all of my lines that I didn't want to keep, and I finally altered the water drop to the way that I wanted it, and I went ahead and made them really dark, all of my lines really dark so you can see it. So once you get your final water drop shape that you want, you can darken it, and we can start with the positive and negative shape designs. So I'm going to use a bottle cap, okay? You can use a large lid, medium, or small. I want to try with a small lid to create designs in the water drop. It's up to you. So go ahead and get your lid and let's get started. We're going to be tracing. I'm going to start in the middle just because. You can start anywhere you want inside of your water drop. And I'm just going to start overlapping. Meaning my circle designs are going to overlap. What's another word for overlap? I guess you can say kind of crisscross on top of each other. We're just creating positive and negative shape designs together. Now, since I'm tracing here, I'm not going to go all the way outside of the water drop, you see. There we go. Now, at any point, if you need to pause the video and catch up, if I get ahead, you can do that. So please keep that in mind. You will most probably have to pause at some point. So I'm erasing all the exterior spaces that I don't need. And then what I'll do is kind of clean up my interior spaces, because there's some areas where I might have drawn outside the line a little bit and I don't want to get confused. Now, as you can tell, I went ahead and erased any little pencil areas that didn't belong there. I lined everything up, and now we can start with the coloring. Keep in mind, we're going to be using only black marker, and we're just going to take our time and not skip any spaces. So I'm just going to start in the center. You can start anywhere as you would like, if you just kind of want to watch me for a bit. So maybe just watch me for a few minutes, and everything somehow works out. It connects. Okay. I'm still working in a circular fashion. Notice how when I moved down, I skipped white, black, white, black, white. So this one is going to be black. So you have to take your time. White, and this space is black. White, and this space is black. Do you see that? So we're just going to be coloring together, and I'm sure your design looks completely different than mine, depending on what size lid you used and maybe even where you started repeating those circular lines. Now this is going to take a while, so at some point I'm going to get ahead and I'm going to show you what this looks like finished. But I'll let you know. You'll notice a huge difference. But I don't want to rush. I want to take my time to make sure that I don't miss any positive shapes. So you can really start working in any direction as long as you skip, black and white, positive and negative shapes, you're fine. So here we'll have black, white. So this one is going to be black. This is coming out pretty cool. Okay, so I can tell this is going to be black, and then this one's going to be black. Just keep taking your time and enjoy the process. I find it very relaxing because you do have to pay attention. Let's see, I find myself counting. So this is white, so this will be black here. See that? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get ahead so you can see what it looks like when I'm finished. Well, this is what my water drop looks like finished, with me coloring in, filling in all the black and white, positive and negative shapes. I bet yours came out pretty cool too. So now that we are both finished, we can start working on the background. Now I'm going to go ahead and use a larger lid because I have more space, and we're just going to do the same thing that we did before. We'll just start tracing. I'm just going to start here. Don't forget to overlap. We do want to overlap our lines. going to kind of draw some going off of the page a little bit, just to kind of break up that space. Alright, so once you're finished, then we can kind of clean up our areas with any pencil lines that we don't need. So I'll start doing this now since I'm finished. There's a few. I have a few of them, not too many. If you are still tracing, that is fine. You could always pause the video whenever you need to. Alright, I think I'm happy with all of my lines. I went ahead and took off any extra smudges. Now I can start adding the black marker for my positive shapes, and then we could see how cool this camouflaged water drop design will come out. I'm just going to start, you know what helps me in the background? When I start in an area next to white. So if the white on the inside of the water drop is here, I'm going to start with black. That tends to help me. And that way I can kind of move a little easier. Alright, so here we go. This whole space is going to be black. And if you want to watch me at first, you can. It can get a little confusing between black and white spaces. You just have to kind of look around as you're working. So here we have black, so I know this is going to be white, and then this one's going to be black. Doesn't matter which direction you go in, but you just don't want to skip around. You have to stay, like I'm going to stay in this area and finish this part before I skip over here, you know? So, yeah, you cannot really skip around. Okay, so if that's white, then this will be black. Now I used a larger lid for the background because my background space was a lot bigger. And I wanted to have some variation between large circular shapes and smaller ones. That way I could see the water drop a little bit easier. I want there to be some sort of a difference between the background and the actual foreground, and the water drop is the foreground. It's what's in front. It's definitely the focus, the focal point, but we're disguising it a bit because we're still repeating similar lines and color in the background. But I do think the difference in sizes of the lid will definitely help your water drop stand out. Alright, so now I can tell this space is going to be black. And I just cover one space at a time. White and this whole space here is black. So yeah, just take your time and enjoy getting lost in this black and white design. So this little area is going to be black because that was white. See, black, white, black. This is going to be black, white, black. That's going to be white, so this will be black. I am pretty much finished coloring this section. Cool. So far, so good. I'm going to get ahead to save time so I can show you what my finished exterior spaces look like when all of my positive shapes are filled in with black. So this is what it looks like when it's completely finished. I think this looks so cool, don't you think? So now you can pause the video until you complete your exterior space of your water drop design. And I'm sure it's going to come out great. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. This video is part of the Acadiana Center for the Arts online series, Virtual Art Studio, where teaching artists present lessons in visual art, dance, music, and more. And you can enjoy them from anywheres. Thanks for creating with us today. Be sure to come back next week for a new virtual art studio.